Hey YouTube, Erica here from Black Girls Build 2, and as you can see, I'm getting ready to start a new project in our laundry room which needs a ton of help. So I have broken this project up into phases so it's not so overwhelming for me, but I'm going to show you guys every step of the way of how I'm going to transform this whole closet. The first thing that we need to do is figure out storage space, get rid of these ugly wire racks, make a spot for us to fold clothes so I can actually fold them, and then just make it look more aesthetically pleasing. So stay tuned and watch how we transform this laundry room. Alright, so we're about to start with the first phase of this laundry room project, which is going to be tackling this corner. So what we're trying to do is create a cabinet space where we can fold clothes on top and store some of the stuff that we don't want people to see. So first thing I'm going to do is build the structure for this cabinet. So I'm not going to do it the traditional way that you build cabinets. I'm doing what works for me, and as always I suggest that you do what works for you. So the first thing I need to do is remove the baseboards from the wall, and then I'm going to build a 2x4 base that I'm going to wrap with a 1x4. And don't worry, I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. Alright, so I am going to measure. I know that I want this cabinet to sit 41 inches because that's just short of this outlet and I don't want that blocked. So right now, I don't want to take the whole baseboard out. I just want to cut out the 41 inches that I need to put my platform. So I'm measuring so that I can mark where that is, and then I'm going to use my multi-tool to just cut at that point, and then we're going to go in and remove the baseboard. Now, I have quite a few tools to remove baseboards because for me it's always trial and error. So first I want to cut this caulk away from the line. So I'm going to use the utility knife. Also have a drywall knife just in case I needed some additional help getting the caulk out. Then I'm going to use the straight edge and crowbar to slowly ply this baseboard from the wall. So it's tedious, but it's Alright, now that I kind of got the baseboard a little bit pried away, I'm going to go ahead and make my cut with my multi-tool so that I make sure I don't rip the entire baseboard off. Wait, safety first. Got my safety glasses. Now we can cut the baseboard. Got the baseboard off. Took a little time, but it's off. So then I gotta do the same thing on the other wall. Alright, baseboards are renewed. Baseboards are removed and found a rusty nail, so the joys of home ownership. So the next thing I want to do is start building that 2x4 base. Hi, Nina. Meet Nina. Okay, so I went ahead and I kind of knew the dimensions of what the cabinet was going to be. So when I went to get my wood, I had them go ahead and cut it in those dimensions at Lowe's and Home Depot. So right now I just wanted to make sure that my measurements were correct. This is going to be the base of that cabinet. So I'm going to make sure I build my base to be the exact same length. And then as for like the width, I'm going to cut it a little short because, you know, cabinets have the, I think it's called a toe kick. So I want to leave space for that. But as you can see, it's going to come out fairly far. And I had a perfect cut here. So now I can do some dry fitting for the 2x4s. Okay, so we know that the length of the cabinet is 41 inches. So right now I am measuring 41. I'm going to make a mark. And then I'm going to use this, which is called a speed square, which is going to help me make a perfectly straight line. So now that I have 41 inches marked on here, I'm actually going to use my miter saw. So making a straight line probably isn't necessary to use a miter saw because it will cut straight, but it's just a good practice. Let's take these back inside. So, like I said, this is trial and error. So what I've realized is that I need to leave some room for my 1x4 to go on this side to make this a clean edge. I also noticed that I'm going to have to just go ahead and remove the whole baseboard over here, which is not a problem. It's not going to be a lot of baseboard to replace. So I'm going to go in and make those minor adjustments, and then from there I can go ahead and get measurements for my middle pieces. So I want a piece on the end, piece on this end, and one in the middle to hold the weight of the entire cabinet. So let's get that. So, got some good things. This is level with this. So I'm going to go ahead and attach these pieces. As you can see, that 1x4 slides in perfectly for where I cut the baseboard. So that's actually going to wrap around this so you don't see the 2x4. You'll actually just see this 1x4 on the front, which looks a lot cleaner. But all this is going to get painted anyway to match the cabinets. And so I did leave about an inch of space for the cabinet to have a toe kick, so the cabinet will hang over. And I think what I'm gonna have to do is go ahead and remove that baseboard and just put a new one in, which is not an issue. All right, so let's get this attached. I'm gonna be using wood screws. These are Power Pro multi-material. I think these are 2 3/4 inch wood screws, and they come with a star bit that I already have in my drill. So I'm just gonna go in and find the studs in this wall, and I'm gonna attach this back one into all of the studs. So this is the stud finder, and I'm gonna link it because I love this thing. It tests for deep wood. It also picks up on electrical currents, which I think is really important. So I'm gonna set it to find wood, and it'll show me also if there's anything electrical behind here, which it shouldn't be because the closet's on the other end. Okay, so the stud finder, it tells me exactly where the center of the stud is. So I just put my screws there where the studs were indicated because I don't feel like want to get a pencil. And so now I'm just going to attach this first one into that, and then we'll start to attach the other ones. So the good thing with these Power Pro screws is that you don't have to pre-drill. Some people like to pre-drill or countersink, but just because this is not going to be seen, that's not really necessary. So these really go in pretty smoothly. Alright, so I got my cut made, and what I'm going to do is just make sure that these line up really good. And so wherever the seam is a little uneven, I can add wood filler and hide that. This also won't be seen because the cabinet will be on top of it, but just want to make sure it's right. So to attach it, I'm going to use my brad nail gun, which is an 18 gauge brad nailer, and it has 2-inch screws in here. Not screws. It has 2-inch brad nails in here. So I'm going to start with the miter joints first to make sure those are tight, and then go around and add a few nails. Alright, so now that the foundation is finished, the next step is just going to be building a cabinet. So I'm going to build the entire cabinet as one structure so that I can spray paint it, and then we'll connect it to this base. Alright, so I need to make pocket holes into the wood so that I can build the cabinet with pocket holes and wood glue. So what I'm going to be using is this Craig jig. I actually just got this one, and so what it has is the sizes of your wood on the side. So I'm using 3/4 inch plywood. So I have it set to 3/4 inch. It also comes with the drill bit that you need, which I also have set to 3/4 inch. And that's it. So we're just going to set this up and then make some pocket holes and join the whole cabinet together. Alright, so there you have it. I did 4 sets of 3 pocket holes, which is probably overkill, but I just want to make sure that this is going to be really sturdy. And now we're just going to use these pocket holes to put the 2 sides on, and I'm going to also add some wood glue just for some added support. Okay, so Craig Jig always sends you a drill bit that is specifically made for pocket holes, so I have already switched that out. And I'm going to take the pocket hole screws that they sent, and I'm going to use these holes that I made to put the screws inside to join the 2 side pieces on there. I'm using 1 1/4 because I have 2 3/4 inch boards, so if you do the math, you don't want it to go through it, so these would be the perfect size. Alright, let's see how it goes. Alright, so I'm sitting in the almost floor cabinet. So the next few steps is I need to build a face frame, and it's literally just the face of your cabinet. So what I'm going to do is make a box with 1x3s and 1x2s, and that's going to not only support the cabinet but allow our doors to have something to sit on. So I'm going to use the 1x3s on these vertical boards and 1x2 on the horizontal board. And the next step is also adding a back to this. So I have 1/8 sheet of plywood. I typically would want to use 1/4, but we're going to try to make that work because I already have that. And then the next step is going to be doing some support pieces to hold the butcher block that's going to act as our countertop. So let's see how that goes. Okay, so I cut the 1x3s down to match the length, and then I used the 1x2s, which is cut down to fit inside of this to make a box. So how I'm going to join these wood together is I'm going to use my crazy jig again to make pocket holes on the ends of each 1x2, which is going to go into the 1x3s. So the good thing about this one is it's also a clamp, so I could literally do it by myself and hold it at the same time. And the other thing to note is that you can keep it on the same 3/4 setting, because although this is called a 1x2, it's not actually 1 inch, it's 3/4 inch. So that's the actual size. So there's no need to switch out your Craig jig for this entire project. So let's get some pocket holes and get a face frame put together.
One eternity later.
Alright, so I have the face frame on, and I'm going to be honest, it was a struggle. So I wasn't able to use the pocket holes I made, and I'm not quite sure why I could, because this pine is really soft. But what I did was I just attached it directly to the plywood, which is not ideal, but this is a learning experience, so hopefully I'll get better with that in time. But it is doing what it's supposed to do, which is to act as a support and have a place for our doors to attach. So next, I think I actually am going to do 1/4 sheet of plywood on the back just for support, and then I'm going to use some of my leftover 1x4 to make support pieces at the top. And then we should be ready to order some doors and get this thing painted. Okay, so it's time for the painting part. So I'm going to make sure my hair is protected. I'm going to be wearing a mask and eyewear because I'm going to be spray painting this. So the process is going to be getting the primer on. I'm going to follow the directions on the back of the can. Let that sit. Once it's dry, I'm going to take a 220 grit sander, sand it down really good. Use my shop vac to get that sawdust off, as well as my tack cloth, and then we're going to apply our paint. So hopefully that's going to give us the best finish. So stay tuned and see how it turns out. Alright, sorry about the washing machine in the back. We are washing clothes right now, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect the cabinet to the base piece, and so all I'm using is 3-inch screws to do that. I'm probably just going to put 4 of them in just to make sure that this doesn't move. And then after that, I want this to operate as a sliding shelf, so we keep the dog food and like other household cleaning objects in here. So I want them to be able to slide out like a drawer. So I've never done anything like this before, so I'm going to be experimenting on how to make a sliding shelf that will operate like a drawer. So stay tuned, let's see if it's going to work. Alright, and there you have it. The base cabinet is finally done. So I was able to turn this unusable space into something more functional, more aesthetically pleasing, and all it took was a couple sheets of plywood, some 1x3s, and some butcher block. So part 2 of this video, we're going to do a nice backsplash on this wall, get the upper cabinet and a floating shelf put up, so make sure you're subscribed to see that. Also, I know I mentioned earlier in this video that I was going to order the doors, but these doors were actually handmade by myself. And if you follow me on Instagram, then you know the ordeal that was. But that's another video also that'll be coming your way very soon. So thanks for watching, and make sure to subscribe and hit that bell to be notified when the next video is coming.